Well, as our old friend Joe Girardi would say, it's not what you want. Yanks drop another one to the Boston Red Sox, second one in a row. This was a series that you really couldn't afford to play dead. But we figured this might happen. Half the team has COVID or whatever. But before the game, we did find out that we were getting back Johnny Lasagna and Nestor Cortez, so that was good news at least. A lot of rumors before the game about Trevor Story, Max Kepler. On this day in 2012, the Yankees got Ichiro Suzuki. That was a fun trade. But at this point, I think you got to sell. I really do. I mean, they might be thinking second wild card, but I mean, you saw the difference in teams tonight. The Red Sox are a better team than the Yankees. The Yankees need to reconstruct quite a bit. I don't know if they need to rebuild, but they definitely need to retool for next season. Definitely a disgrace, as Lori C says in the comments. And by the way, I watched tonight on MLB Network, and Jim Cott and Bob Costas are the best in the business. I love that duo. They're so great. Jim Cott was a member of the Yankees booth for a long, long time, and he knows about as much about pitching as anybody in the business. Yanks break out in the second on a double by Gardner. Eduardo Rodriguez hurt himself on the play. They said it was migraines. I guess they came on sudden. I think I would have a migraine too if I gave up a double to Brett Gardner. Sox did have to go to the bullpen early, but their pitcher, Phillips Vasquez, really picked up the team, kept them from spending their entire bullpen, and just dominated. He was fantastic. Yanks left the bases loaded in the second. That's been a real problem for them all year. In my opinion, the primary reason that the Yankees are in the position that they're in right now is because they haven't hit with runners in scoring position all season. 21 men left on base tonight, 12 strikeouts. There's a lot of reasons this Yankees team has struggled, but primarily I think it's just not hitting with runners in scoring position. Garrett Cole was solid tonight. You know, he's going to have those games where he goes 5 innings, gives up 3 runs. He put himself into a jam in the third with a couple of walks, but then his 5th strikeout was 101 miles an hour on the corner at the knees. Nastiest pitch of the night, in my opinion. Filthy. He had a great battle with Devers and got him with a 100-mile-an-hour fastball to get out of it. Sox tied up on a sac fly in the bottom of the 5th. Cole was starting to wear down a little bit. Devers wins their next battle with a 2-run shot over the monster to make it 3-1. Gary Sanchez exited the game in the 6th with back spasms. Hopefully he's back in a day or two, but that was a bad time to have an issue like that. Nestor Cortez came in to pitch in the 6th. Welcome back, Nestor. Yanks put 2 men in scoring position in the top of the 7th, but Odor, the belt holder for the foreseeable future until the Yankees can win another game, pops out on the first pitch. Really a terrible at bat. Ended the threat with 2 runners in scoring position. Bottom of the 7th, the Red Sox break it open. Second home run of the game by Rafael Devers made it 6-1 Red Sox. Top of the 9th, Giancarlo Stanton picks up the softest hit of his entire life. A infield single, his first infield single in what feels like a million years. And then scores on a double by Rougned Odor, kind of a pop fly to left field that dropped in there. Probably should have been caught, but it was a tough play. Red Sox win this one 6-2. So let's hear what's on your mind. Jordan Thyler says, sell, sell, sell. And I don't disagree with you. Jesus Chavez says, it is sad. Too sad. We suck. First of all, dono for Jesus.
Nobody messes with the Jesus.
Yeah, it's depressing. Earlier in the year, I would be ranting right now. I mean, after that Phillies series where the Yankees were looking like they were circling the drain a little bit, I began to rant after games and stuff like that. And I've reached the point where I really can't rant anymore. It's just a bad team. I was ranting because I was expecting the team to do better, but now I kind of expect this performance, especially with, our big boppers. You got Judge on the IL. You got Gio Urshela, who's been so great on the IL. Just been a rough time this year. Some years are like this. The Earl of Demise says, Yanks load the bases, do nothing. That was the story of the night. First of all, dono.
Feared by man and fiend alike. It's the Earl of Demise.
I like those donos because it allows me to get a drink of water. By the way, good news if you're a fan of the channel. I got a new camera. I already had a pretty good Canon, but I went up a level, And now it won't shut off after 30 minutes. So we can have longer streams after games if we want to rant or discuss things a little bit longer than 30 minutes. So that's good news. Also, I redid my background. Sorry for the crap episode last night. I know it was a tough loss and you guys wanted to talk about it, but I did an episode of the Frieze. Some people complained that I talked over highlights, but basically I did the highlights from the previous game and then they continued. I was still talking and it continued into previous games. And so I guess that was a little confusing if you're new to the channel or whatnot. But, I like this format a little bit better post-game. But last night I just couldn't do it because my background was messed up. I'm putting up audio panels all the way around the room, sans the TV area, just to make it sound a little bit better in here. And also it gives a little bit better look to the stuff on the shelves and stuff like that. So anyway. Zach Yes says, the reports say that many teams want Anthony Volpe, but Cashman says he's not available. Yeah, I wouldn't trade Anthony Volpe to try and save this team. This team is beyond saving at this point. I mean, you might make a run at the wild card, but I mean, you could just as easily get a ton of production from Luis Severino or from Corey Kluber and get to the wild card. But I wouldn't go out and make any major deals at this point unless it's to unload some people. I think Chapman still has some value because he's still got that high-octane fastball, and velocity is the biggest indicator of success in Major League Baseball among pitchers. Jesus Chavez, I'm going to have to disagree with you. He says we need Gallo, Gibson, Scherzer, Frazier, Reynolds, Berrios, Kepler, Story, someone to pump this team up. Thank you for the dono.
Nobody messes with the Jesus.
Ashlyn Cotto says something about this game felt off. I felt it start to kick in last night. I get what you're saying. I was watching Talkin' Yanks the other night after the Yankees completed the sweep of the Phillies. They got on at like 12:30 at night, and I was having trouble sleeping. I popped onto Patrick's chat for a while, and then I came back on here and I watched Talkin' Yanks, and they said that they're not like super religious people, but they believe in energy. And I think there's something to energy. And something about the team's energy in New York felt great, and it hasn't felt the same in Boston. They just feel flat. I mean, maybe that's just what losing feels like. Maybe losing just doesn't give good energy. Maybe this is just a team that's not built to win. Maybe we just got used to a team that's competitive every year. And so we look at the names, we look at the back of the baseball cards, and we think, yeah, this team's going to be great. You get one game away from the World Series or from the ALCS last year, and you think, well, this team, the couple of breaks might overcome that. You put 12 runs up off of Shane Bieber in the playoffs. You think this team can hit elite pitchers. We've got enough guys who can hit bombs and enough guys who can get on base that you're going to run into some big innings. But this year has just been constantly leaving men on base. And the energy, it feels depressed. It feels weak. They feel like a weak team right now. Trade Chapman, great username, says you can't strike out 26 times in 2 games. Absolutely great point. The Earl of Demise, I hope you don't mind. I'm not going to play the dono hype every single time for multiple donos from same. I'll do it a couple times, but I don't want to mess up the sound for the people who listen to this. Basically, MLB Network crew was talking about how Stanton's swing is much different than it was in Miami. And I don't think it's necessarily a lot different. Like it doesn't look a lot different to the naked eye, but something about his approach, something about like his confidence up there. I feel like the minute he got here, he was living in Judge's shadow. A guy like Giancarlo Stanton has always been the big swinging dick in the room. He's been the man for his whole life. And now there's somebody bigger, more popular, stronger in the clubhouse, the team leader. And, I don't think I'm not going to say that there's anything between them because I think they're friends. But I think that, on a subconscious level, it might affect his confidence a little bit. He sees, it's kind of like when OJ's wife started dating Marcus Allen or whatever, the younger version of him. He got a little stabby, allegedly. Jared Williams says, offense sucked as usual. Yeah, you got to put this one on the offense. This was, the Yankees had lots of opportunities. You can't leave 21 men on base in 9 innings. I mean, how do you expect to win leaving that many men on base? And that's what we say when we say contact hitters. We don't want, we're not looking for guys who only hit singles, or we're not looking to give up home runs, but we're tired of leaving men on base. We need people who can adjust to the situation. And I will say this for Giancarlo Stanton. He's put the team on his back at times this season, and he's got more hits to give the team the lead than anybody else on the team. So that is one way. And I think that's partially because he's been using the right side of the field better. He's been, going against the shift. But Stuart Matthews with a great point says Stanton is like what A-Rod was and Judge is Jeter. Oh, I got to give you that's a great comment. I'm a big fan of analogies, and that was a good analogy. Let's see. Yankees win 17, I wish. Says, I'm sorry, but let's strike when the iron is hot. Let's trade Judge and get as many teammates for the Martian. Remember we root for Landry. We root for that Landry. Yeah, you're not going to convince me to trade Judge, but the more I think about this, and I started thinking about this about a month ago when everybody was kind of floating around the internet, and there was a time when I was doing stuff on this channel where I would have made a video just to get views about Aaron Judge and say, should the Yankees trade Aaron Judge? Maybe they should, maybe they shouldn't. I remember I made a video earlier this year, and that was kind of the turning point for me, just making videos just for the hell of it, where I said Tyler Wade sucks at baseball. Like, that was the title of the video. And since that got such a poor reception, I've tried to be a little bit more responsible with my content, because a lot of people do watch this, and I don't want to influence the fan base one way or another. A lot of people probably watch this on the subway over to the game or whatever, or in the morning while they're having their coffee at work. And so I've been really careful about what I want to say about Judge, because I love Aaron Judge. And I think Aaron Judge is a special guy. But we have to think long term. Are we going to give Aaron Judge $200 million? Probably not. Are we going to give him $300 million? Definitely not. So what's he going to ask for? He's going to be 31, 32, something like that when he's a free agent. I don't know the exact day when he becomes a free agent or the exact birthday, his birthday, whatever, how that lines up. But he's going to be in his early 30s. And he's going to want probably 7 years, $210 million. That's what I would ask for if I was his agent. He puts fannies in the seats. He sells a lot of jerseys. He looks like a Babe Ruth type character, only less, not fat. He's bigger than life. He's he's a cartoon. But, with the injuries in recent years, this year maybe coming back down a little bit with his stats, back down to earth. I kind of like smaller strike zones. And I love Aaron Judge, but he can be pitched to. And I don't want to start the whole get rid of Aaron Judge thing, but I think it's something the Yankees should consider. They need to have a meeting when they do their postmortem this season, which I'm sure is going to come either in early October or, maybe a week or two into October if we're lucky and are able to make the playoffs. When this team meets up in Tampa at the Tampa complexes, as they do every year, and they have their postmortem, one of the things they're going to have to decide is, what is Aaron Judge's value long term? And if you decide that you can get back more for him, then you would pay for him. Basically, if you can get back a couple of prospects that can improve your team, and that'll help you more than paying him a bunch of money, then I think you have to consider it. But you don't do it now. You don't do it at the trade deadline. And man, if that happens, I feel bad for Dan Work because he's going to be on suicide watch. Earl of Demise says, game was so bad yesterday that I went on a rant in my channel. Even Michael K sounds broken. Michael K does sound broken. Michael K is a fan. He's not just an announcer. He's a fan. He's been watching this team for 40 years. He doesn't like seeing this. Nobody does. Mark Knight says, can we say the season is officially over? No, you can't. Because there is that chance. Excuse me. Anybody who remembers 1995 can tell you that the Yankees went something like, I want to say it was like 20-6 or something down the stretch to win a wild card. And then they had so much momentum from that, And we've seen the Rockies do that. They went like 21-1 one year. It can happen. Indians won 22 in a row, but that was a really good team. But, teams do go on stretches. They catch fires. There's that certain energy. But I don't see this team having that energy. Aaron Boone doesn't strike me as the type of manager who has what it takes to get that out of his players. I look at Alex Cora, and I see a serious baseball man. I look at Terry Francona, and I see a serious baseball man. Joe Madden, serious baseball man. I don't see a serious baseball man when I see Aaron Boone. I see a frat boy who backed his way into the Ferrari of managerial posts with the New York Yankees. Ray T says Aaron Boone does not know how to manage. Last night was awful. Luis Cessa, that's the one regret that I had about last night's video. I was so tired from working on this stuff behind me, and there was a rain delay. My buddy was here. We were eating pizza, and I eat a lot of pizza, guys. And it was just a tough night. And it didn't occur to me that Luis Cessa only threw 5 pitches. And your bullpen is wiped out. I would rather have Luis Cessa pitch, in that situation, I think, because he's shown you that his slider's working. Green has been overused a lot lately. And then you got nobody after Green for extra innings. I think if he's only thrown 5 bullets, out of the gun, or shot 5 bullets out of the gun, you let him go. You let him go for the 9th. And that was a regret. I should have mentioned that. Jared Williams says, Boone the clown. Kyle Shine says, how can Stanton play the outfield if he can't even sprint the bases? It is not going to be pretty, ladies and gentlemen. It is not going to be pretty. The rumored trade that would bring Trevor Story to the Yankees. And again, I don't think that's going to happen. I think that's a non-starter. The rumored trade means that you would put Story at shortstop, move Glaber to second, and put Voit, and move DJ to first. And then that does something with Voit. You could put him at DH. That's what I read from, I think it was Buster Only on Twitter. But I think that would mean that Voit would get traded, because I think Voit has some value. He's got enough power that somebody could use him as a DH. I think Voigt's going to get dealt. I really do. His injuries this season, have hurt his value a little bit, but that's just the cost of doing business. AB says, if you're going to trade for Story or Marte, better do it now before the players lose confidence. I was saying that you should have done it before the break, because you knew that you were going to be playing the Boston Red Sox and the Tampa Bay Rays. This was the most important, the highest leverage situation of the entire season, scheduling-wise. You think about the baseball game itself. You want to bring in your best pitcher and give your team the best chance during a high leverage situation. Even if it's the 7th inning, 6th inning, that's what the Rays do. And a season is kind of shaped the same way. When you have those crucial series that can send you either on a road to the playoffs, or it can send you off towards the path of, not making the playoffs, maybe rebuilding, that's the time to inject some new energy, some new life. And we did get, the Greg Allens and the Estevan Florials. Those guys have come back down to earth in front of hostile crowds. Just what it is. I still love both of those guys, and I think they should be part of the team. But if you go back and look at Greg Allen's stats for his career, the guy's like he's a replacement player. He's got some speed, but he's never, hit for power. He doesn't hit a ton at all. And Estevan Florial, they were trying not to call up because they don't think he's ready. So we may see him start to struggle a little bit here as the league adjusts to something he hasn't learned how to do in the minors yet. So the time to fix the roof was when the sun was shining, as we say. You had a week during the All-Star break where you knew this was coming up. And I know Major League Baseball doesn't like to announce trades during the All-Star break, but you can make them. We've seen it happen. We've seen guys change their jersey before the game, or play the game in their old team's jersey because they got traded over the break. It happens. It happens, folks. And, that was the time to do it. But unfortunately, Brian Cashman decided to go with what he's got, and we're seeing the result. You guys might notice my shirt says Titanic. For you younger folks in the crowd, if you're not aware of the Titanic, it's more than just a movie. It was also a very expensive product that didn't go quite as far as maybe people expected or hoped. So that's kind of the meaning behind tonight's shirt. Yo Elvis says, Florial's about to be 28. When is he going to be ready? Florial's actually 23 years old, Yo Elvis. So he's got a little bit more time. Douglas Rao says, yeah, Titanic shirt, is that because the team is stunk? I swear, I just saw that comment. So nice. Sean Browning wants to keep the young fellas. I do. I also agree. I want to keep Estevan Florial. I would rather lose and let Estevan Florial learn on the job and see what he can do over the next couple of months than trade him for, a temporary fix that might get you an extra playoff series. We might win the wild card round if we get there. We could very well do that. I would take Garrett Cole against pretty much anybody we would face in that round. But even if we win, we're not beating the Red Sox. We're not beating the Rays. The World Series goes through Tampa Bay and Boston this year. It doesn't go through New York. I'm sorry. Jimmy J says, y'all going down with the ship or are you saving yourselves? That's one of the reasons I love the Titanic story, is just the human drama. I mean, imagine knowing, like, perfectly healthy, that you're going to die in 2 hours if you can't get on a lifeboat, but knowing that there's not enough lifeboats for everybody. Do you give up your seat? A lot of people did, and they became heroes. A few people didn't. They became pariahs. I love that story. It's just a great human story. Jimmy J says, Houston? Houston, maybe. I still think Tampa Bay is better than... I think, Tampa Bay beat Houston last year. I think Tampa Bay will beat Houston again. And I think Boston would beat Houston. I think a playoff crowd would be so tough on the Astros that they're going to fold. They're just going to fold. And they don't have Verlander this year. I'm not sure when he's coming back. But, and they don't have Garrett Cole. I mean, they got some pitching, but Greinke's not going to scare me in a playoff series. He'll fold under a tough crowd. 3M says, Yanks, lick your wounds and be a seller. I agree it. Pinstripe says, Yanks need Stick Michaels and Bob Watson. Get your Ouija board. Bradley White, as we can continue this long denouement, the analogy playing forward, Bradley White says the Yanks buying at the deadline would be analogous to the band playing as the ship eventually sinks. They played Nearer My God to Thee. And that's the tune I've got playing in my head now. It's going to be in my head as I fall asleep. Let's see here. Yo Elvis says, Astros don't have a bullpen, Boston does. Yeah, the Astros are going to be looking for bullpen help. I would consider trading Chapman to the Astros if they want him. If you're selling, if the Yankees decide they're not going to win, they should sell. I don't want to trade Anthony Volpe. I don't want to trade Luis Medina. I don't want to trade Luis Heel for somebody who's going to get you 3 extra playoff games and watch you get swept in Boston. What did getting Lance Lynn do a couple of years ago? Got us 1 extra game. Not worth it. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. We got a super chat from Carlos's Vids. Oops. Says, I hope to God Hal doesn't allow Cash to make some makeshift trade to make a fake playoff run here. We need to save our prospects for a real GM that takes over next season. Dono hype. I appreciate that, and I agree with you 100%, Carlos. If I'm the Yankees, there's a few guys that I would try and move. I would try and move Aroldis Chapman. I would try and move Zach Britton. I would try and move Luke Voit. I would see what I could get for guys like, Clint Frazier and, some of these guys who are kind of up and down a little bit. I'd probably hold on to Higashioka and Gary Sanchez. Sanchez has been better. Higashioka is the perfect backup to me. I would probably hang on to Odor. Odor is starting to win me over a little bit. He's weird. He does this with fits and starts. He'll look really good for 5 or 6 games at a time, and then he's lost for a week or two. But I'm starting to believe in Rougned Odor. It's reminding me of the resurgence that Didi Gregorius had. Not as dramatic, and he's not as good defensively, but he's the same type of fiery personality. He's a left-handed bat, which we sorely need. He can play second base, give guys a day off. He's got power. He's fun. See him rounding the bases yesterday after a sac bunt. That was fantastic. Glaber, I'm holding on to because I think Glaber's going to come around. They're talking about how his launch angle has decreased in recent days. His launch angle was off balance most of the year. It was way too high because he was popping up all the time, right? He was trying to hit home runs and he was popping up. But now he's starting to hit more line drives. He's getting a little better. Douglas says, if they trade Luis Gil for Starling Marte, I'll break my TV. I'm with you, pal. Do not trade those guys. Hang on to the pitching. Jordan Thaler says, hire Theo Epstein. So I've mentioned that a few times. I like the idea of Theo Epstein because he's done it before. He did it in Boston. He did it in Chicago. He's managed he's GM'd a big market team. He understands the game. He's a modern GM. Now, his run in Chicago didn't last as long as we had hoped. Some of those trades didn't work out as much. Addison Russell, who he got, he thought he was getting Barry Larkin, and he never worked out. And so, he's had his ups and downs, but I like him as a baseball man. And the thought has been that he wants to be the commissioner, but there already is a commissioner. Rob Manfred's not going anywhere. As much as we'd like it, Rob Manfred is not going anywhere. B. Barnes says, Chapman, Britton, Frazier, Andujar, and Garcia for Whitlock. Wouldn't that be funny if Brian Cashman traded all those guys for somebody we already had? Anthony Volpe apparently homered today. I did not know that. And Oswald Peraza with another multiple hit game. Let's go ahead and get the high far gone for Anthony Volpe.
That ball is high. It is far. It is gone.
Hey, it's SB Games back in the house. Says Yanks need to hit. Montgomery pitched for nothing yesterday, and the Yankees did not hit. First of all, SB Games is a legend around these parts. He is the MVP of donos.
SB Games.
Dono MVP.
And thank you for the dono once again, SB Games. Yeah, I feel really bad for Jordan Montgomery. He said after the game yesterday that he was sick to his stomach. I've been there. There is almost nothing worse as a pitcher than throwing a really good game and having your team not score. It's just, and he left with a lead. Jordan Montgomery deserves better than the Yankees offense. He really does. He really does. Ramon Vlog says minor leagues are more fun. That's why I've been shifting a lot of my content to cover the minor leagues lately. I've been trying to, put more of an emphasis on the future. And by the way, I've decided a few things with the channel. Since we're getting pretty late into the broadcast and most of the people are, who are sticking around are regulars. The way we have highlights tonight, where it's basically the Yankees highlights only in the lower left. That's what I'm going to do from now on. I'm not going to show the highlights from the other teams. I just get a lot of feedback that people say we don't want to see that. It creates extra work for me. So I'm going to skip the big highlights screen from now on, and I'm just going to try and get the highlights from the game, the Yankees highlights, and put them in the left-hand corner here on a loop. Oh, my God. SB Games with another massive, massive dono says, we need Alex Wood for like a number 5. Alex Wood has such a funky motion. I love it. I love it.
SB Games spends way too much money on me.
Borg says hello. Hello, Borg. I've got to read the Manscaped ad tonight, so I'm not going to show you guys a video of it. They've asked me to read this, so hang on just 1 second. I got to put something up on the screen. See if you guys can see it. Bam. Okay. This episode brought to you in part by Manscaped. Apparently, this podcast is pretty popular in the UK and Singapore. It's doing well overseas. So they asked me to let you guys know, all you hairy mofos overseas, that the Lawnmower 4.0 and Performance Package 4.0 is now available around the globe. That's the little global space theme they've got there. Doesn't matter where you live. If you've got balls, you need Manscaped. Go ahead and visit manscaped.com and enter the code NYY Recaps for 20% off and free shipping. Your balls will thank you. Let's hear it for Manscaped. Big supporters of the podcast. All right, let's get back to the comments. We're over 30 minutes now, and the camera is still running. Holy mackerel, we got to do the air horn. Let's hear it for longer content. More often now. Love it. THG with the Manscaped hype. Appreciate that. Ray T says, we need our Rail Riders coach to coach the Yankees. That's a good point. I will say this, that Brian Cashman does seem to have done a better job. He's done a better job at building the minor leagues over the last couple years. Oh my God, I've got another super dono from SB Games. He says, how much would it cost to get new internet for you? So SB Games, you may have missed this on one of your other calls. The reason I'm able to run at 1080p and have such a clear broadcast now, and the reason I'm sporting this new Shure mic, is because of you, my friend, because of all of your donations. Every dono that I get on this channel goes right back into making the channel better. So all of the donations you've made so far helped me actually get my house rewired. So you are the man, sir. I appreciate that very much. And another one. I love this guy. He's the man. Alan Evangelista says, should have been the Cleveland Midges. The Midges, of course, if you're unfamiliar with this, were the bugs that attacked Jabba Chamberlain during the playoffs in 2007. I still have nightmares about that. Still have nightmares. I liked the idea of Cleveland Spiders. That was their name like 100 years ago. To me, it rolls off the tongue a little bit, but I will say this. I like Guardians. It reminds me of the Guardian from the, I think it's called Split and Glass, and there was one other one. It's the M. Night Shyamalan trilogy about the superheroes, the real life, the unbreakable guy, and I think it was called Glass, and he was known as like the Guardian, I think, and I think of that every time I see that logo now. Martine Kolunga says, honestly, it's been a tough season, but we have to keep fighting, never give up, let's be positive, life is beautiful. Let's hear it from Martin Kolunga. THG says, hashtag longer content. Let's see. Danny Adorno says, SB Games more clutch than Stanton. SB Games is a legend around this part. My wife thanks you, SB Games. You've done a lot for this channel. You've allowed me to provide better content to all the people who come here every single day. Last night I felt bad that I couldn't provide a live episode. It was really tough. But anyway, SB Games says, I want to give you a PC with the money I give you. So I actually have two Macs. I use Macs because it's PC is not compatible with the Ecamm Live software that I use. That's the software that I use to do these post-game shows. But I appreciate that, SB Games.
SB Games spends way too much money on me.
Bradley White says, SB Games, Bezos in disguise. So how about Jeff Bezos leaving Earth? I kind of wished he would stay up there. You know? So Ray T says, thank you, SB Games. I thank you very much. You've just done so much to me. And because you just won't stop, you get the invincible hype. Thank you so much, SB Games. All right, guys, we got a new outro in case you missed it last night. I'm going to go with the new outro tonight, but we were able to go over 30 minutes, and thanks to SB Games, I can take the rest of the night off. Thank you guys so much. Tough one for the Yankees tonight. They lose, but we will play tomorrow. It's another day. We're fans. We're not going to give up just because of a tough year. So we're going to grind this one out, and then we'll start with the hot stove stuff. I've already built a hot stove template for this year. We're going to hype up our prospects. We're going to be all in for the future. Thank you guys so much. I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, by the way, watch party on Sunday. Now that my camera doesn't turn off, we can get a better camera and do a watch party on Sunday. Let me actually show you guys the preview. I made something for the watch party. Hang on just a second before we sign off here. So that's me up in the corner. So the game will be over here on the right side. But I'm loving this new technology, guys. I'm loving this new technology. I'll see everybody tomorrow.